Hi, John Tui here, Solaris Knight and Doggy Kruger, and a shout out to Action Activate. Stay tuned.
What's up? It's me, Gazbot. This is Action Activate. Let me put that up here. And if I am Gazbot and this is Action Activate, then with me, as always, is... Whoa!
It is I. It is the big dog. I was just seeing you through my Beast Morphers Go Busters little doohickeys that happen to be behind me. But we're not here to talk about either of those series. We're here to talk about Power Rangers Mystic Force. I know some people in the comments, I'm not going to name names, Matt, but some people in the comments were like, when are you guys going back? Well, you know what? We're going back. Back.
It's been at least a year, I think, since we've talked. Maybe more, which is wild. We were right about to start the three-part arc, Dark Wish, episode 18, which is what we're going to talk about today. And we're not going to take a year to get back to it. However, we do, I think, have 2 or 3 more episodes of Go Lose a Ranger. So I think we're going to do a back and forth kind of thing for the last few episodes of that.
Yeah.
Part of the reason I wanted to get back to it right now is because this is August 15th, 2024, and in about a week and a half, we're going to be at Power Morphicon. I'm going to be tabling under Gazbot with my art, but we're both going to be there. And I was like, it would be nice to have done some Power Rangers videos, for the first time in a while. Well, we did the fan videos, but for a lot of Mystic Force Rangers are going to be there.
Wait a minute. Weren't the last Power Rangers related videos we did from Zenith Productions, who will also be at Power Morphicon?
Yes. But I just felt like, let's get back to it. We were going to get back to it in a few weeks. Let's get back to it this week and just, get going. It's funny because looking at those I've been wanting to redo our opening credits for a while with like new pictures and stuff, which now makes sense to wait until after Power Morphicon. But some of them are from like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
From like the first Morphicon we went to, and some of them are from like, I don't know, 6 years ago from the second one, so it's gonna be nice to get some updated photos. We'll talk more about that at the end, maybe. Or maybe we'll do another video talking about Morphicon. But let's get into episode 18 of Mystic Force.
Dark Wish Part 1. We both did not realize that part of the reason we stopped is we're like, oh, it's a 2-parter. We'll just, do the 2 parts back to back. A year ago, Gazbot and Big Dog. So initial thoughts, what were you thinking?
I mean, I have to acknowledge the fact that I'm coming back into it after having not watched it in like a year. So there's a few things like, wait, what's going on? But I kind of caught up. It was fine. It was chaotic. It was there was a lot going on, and not necessarily like a lot going on. Like, wow, they've progressed the story so much. It was more like there's a lot going on. It was chaotic. There was almost too much going on, and I don't mean necessarily in terms of plot. There was like a lot of fights and things happening, and they're burning through a lot of Sentai footage. I didn't hate this episode. I didn't love this episode. It was just kind of a weird episode.
Yeah, the thing that gets me about this team is I feel like they just make certain episodes, and I've said this in the past in reviews of other episodes of the season, where it's like, yep, this episode we're going to make you dislike the Rangers' choices because reasons.
Yes, but you're right. But usually they focus on one Ranger that has to learn their lesson, but this is like the whole team has to learn their lesson. And I'll tell you, because we've watched enough Power Rangers, as soon as I saw this shot where she's like, I'm going to use music to DJ, I'm like, oh, she's using magic too casually. That's going to be the lesson. And then we cut to, she's like, oh, I'm going to make a cake to help him. And I'm like, oh, the entire team is using magic too casually. That's going to be the lesson. What's funny is I watched this. My mom is over, and I watched this with my mom, and she hasn't watched Power Rangers since the 90s. She used to watch Mighty Morphin and Zeo with my sibling. And so that's, she knows it continues. She's seen my artwork. She's aware of it, but she hasn't watched an episode since the 90s. So this will be interesting. I'm like, it's going to be different. And in the middle, she's like, this is different. This is not what I remember at all. And I was like, it's like weird because, okay, there's the mystic magic stuff, but there were so many just like fight, go, this, that. And like, it's like, it was just like almost like a music video in a way.
Yeah, like I feel like the least chaotic part is this, where it's like
Yes.
they're at their day job using
Right.
magic, which is a power of theirs. And then after this, it's like, hey, everything that we has been a tidbit, a topic throughout the season, we're just cramming into 18
Right.
more minutes.
Yeah, and what do they call these beasts that came out from the void? There was a
I
name
don't
for this.
remember.
There was a name for these.
One thing I want to say before we get in the rest of the review, we both watched this episode. Gazbot watched this within an hour. I watched this like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I still remember parts of it, but details like that, I most certainly will not.
Well, they make a point of saying, oh, we've resurrected these beasts from the void. I want to call them void beasts. That's not the name. Yeah. And it make it seem like, it made me think of Supernatural, like the abyss voids from the limbo or whatever that was, the Leviathans.
Yeah.
They make a big deal. And then when the Rangers start fighting them, they are harder, but they introduce them this episode and 2 of them get destroyed immediately. And it's like, that's weird. I feel like that could have been like, you introduce them, then you fight one. It was odd pacing, and some of that Sentai, of course.
And this too is something we've seen in other Ranger series, and this one, I agree with you, feels like they're the least impactful.
So far for sure. I mean, they spoilers at the end, 2 of them are alive and they capture Genji, so maybe that turns into a thing. But it's just weird. They're like, because they even the Rangers or Udana and Solaris Knight are like, why are they only 2? They're attacking 1 at a time instead of all 4. That's like a weird plan. And then later, the main villain, whose name I forget now, not the master, but the one currently in charge, is like, oh, thank you for your teammate's sacrifice. But it's never really explained why they were sacrificed. Yeah. Maybe, I don't think this was explained well. But if the idea was to be like a Nightfall with Batman, where like Bane gets all the other villains to weaken Batman, so by the time he gets there, he wins. Maybe that's the plan, where they wanted to weaken them to the point where they we just got to use Genji, and then they capture Genji, I guess. And that plan could work, but it was not explained well at all. It was sort of like, let's use Genji, and Solaris for no reason is like, no, I guess because they're too reliant on magic. Like, no, we shouldn't, but not like because they might capture him. You know, like we got to save it. I can retcon this into a story that makes sense, but they did not explain it that way.
I feel like the thing with Genji also is they kind of sort of earlier established like he's around, but if you use him, like it's kind of a big deal. And with this, I saw Solaris Knight be like, we don't want to expose Genji because if he's in the lamp, he's in the lamp. Yeah. But like, don't expose him to get captured. And they're like, easy way out. Oh no, we lost.
Right. Well, yes, that's all true, but they wanted to use him several times. And it wasn't until they finally used him. It was the combo of the reflection attack guy and the suck up beast. So those 2 together in that fight were able to catch him. But what if they had used Genji in an earlier fight? Were they prepared to catch him? It just seemed a little too convenient. Like finally they use him, and this is the time they shouldn't have. You know, like we also have this other subplot of Void Knight being like they don't serve the master and they're not honorable, and like
Void Knight.
Oh, Korag.
There we go. Hey, to be honest, if you were ever going to get a mix-up, that one's the easiest, and I'll let it go.
It's a purple kind of good bad guy knight person.
A purple-ish ranger-ish character.
Yeah. Oh,
that is evil. The Pod 4 Ultra. Wow, what a time. So obviously we're going to keep going, but like this episode was very medium. Like.
It was. I will say this: it wasn't boring. I mean, that's the worst crime you could have. It wasn't boring, but it did have the trope of making you not like the Rangers because, and they're just reveling in like. That's the other thing. Aside from abusing magic, which is always a weird thing of like, it's such a fine line. Like if I had magic and I used it to clean my room or I used it to do things, like is that abusing it? Like why not? You know, I'm not hurting people, but it's like, oh, but no, you gotta. Anyway, it's a fine line, weird argument. How do you know when you're abusing it?
One positive I will say is they make them look as lazy as possible this episode, which good job for the directing and, everybody acting just as, slothish as you can, because great job there. But yeah, it is a thing like with the magic, to your point, that they haven't established like, is there a finite amount of mana that you need to get back? Like,
right.
As far as we know, you could just keep using magic indefinitely, except obviously you can't. But why? Right. They haven't explained it, so who knows?
Yeah. The other thing I remember too, because they're also complaining about fighting. Like, oh, I'm so sick of fighting, and like, so they're whining about fighting. They're using their magic too much, and this is all again designed to set them up to be like weakened and desperate to call Genji. but it wasn't. They should have. It's a 3-part episode, and this is part 1. I feel like if they should have set the seeds of them getting overwhelmed for a while and made it like a sympathetic thing of like, we can't do it anymore, we need help, as opposed to like, man, we just don't wanna. Like, it just.
Yeah, I really don't like it. It seems like the Disney era does this from time to time, where like the Rangers sometimes don't feel like being Rangers, but you know that they're going to keep being them. So it really is just like a real ick feeling as the audience, because it's it's not the end. Yeah.
I haven't watched a lot of Overdrive. I understand that's a problem in Overdrive. We're seeing it here. That wasn't a problem in SPD. There were certain times where a certain member might have a doubt or something. I don't remember that really being a problem in Jungle Fury.
RPM, I think it happened a little bit.
Did it? Maybe, but that was more for interpersonal relationships, not like.
Well, it was also the end of the world, so that one made a little more sense. I was a little more empathetic there. This one, like,
which was a hybrid Disney, didn't. I mean, I guess there's 2 Disney seasons where it definitely happened, but that doesn't necessarily mean all the Disneys. But
can you think of it outside of Disney when it happened? No, you can't.
Okay, I probably did. In the comments below, tell me who I'm forgetting. What's this character's name? I forget her name. Trish.
I want to say Fran because you said Jungle Fury, and I know it's wrong.
And she has pizza on her face. It's not Fran. I like her well enough as comic relief, but I saw this and I'm like, oh, okay, there's the pepper. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I remember we had that whole arc, and I know I complained about this, where she like was revealed to be destined for greatness and descendant, and she like, I can do magic, and they built her up, and then she's just right back to this. It was like, what was the point of that?
Yeah. They have the dragon that this whole comedy bit is about, that's just chilling. They don't want to use the CG budget on it, which is fine, whatever. But yeah, really, this episode, it's odd because obviously we're watching this as adults, but also you and I are watching this season both as parents. And I feel like this whole episode, I'm like, the adults are right, all of the kids are wrong. That's like all I got out of this whole thing.
Because they're also not even like, it's not like they're giving a good argument for why they should do things. They're just sort of whining. And it needed buildup. This could be a sympathetic thing. They're overworked. They say they're battle weary, but they said it. They didn't really show it. It just starts with like, I'm tired of fighting. Let's use magic. Like, show that.
Everybody is just being lazy, and it's not like draining. Like we've seen, a prime example is in Beast Morphers when Devin has a job and he has a hard time being a ranger and doing his job. They show that, and then he has kind of a crisis of conscience of it because he can't do it all. And that makes sense, and that was sympathetic, and that was a good episode for the most part from what I can recall. This is just, I have magic powers, I'm a ranger. I don't know.
It makes it worse that it's the whole team, too.
Yeah.
Because it was one ranger, it's like, oh, okay. But it's like they're all equally giving up. It's not like one's like, we should still try, and the other's like, no. And like they're all like, yep, we're all on the same page. We're over it.
I'm most disappointed in the writing for Blue and Yellow for this episode because it feels very out of character.
I could see that. My mom was watching this with me, and we watched this fight, and like they're getting their butts kicked by this guy. And she's like, whoa, this and that. And there's a lot of crazy, flippy, weird, fighty stuff too. That's just like fun, but also borderline confusing. They're just like, they're kind of floating through space, electricity, whatever. But what I thought was, my mom said this, and she kind of said it as a joke, but it's funnier to us probably than like she meant it, because she doesn't watch this. She was just hanging out with me. But so she's watching them get their butt kicked, and then he's like, oh, you guys are no challenge. And then he gets big, and she's like, whoa, he just got big. And she knew they got big, but I guess she's used to like Rita or Zed or somebody.
Yeah, just like, make it grow.
Great. And then it was like, oh, he didn't even need to do that. And then they all get big. And she's like, oh, they got big too. And she's like, that changes nothing. It's still, it changes nothing. It was 6 of them against 1, and they were getting beat. He got big, they got big. It's the same exact fight, and they all get beat. And I'm like, she's right. That changed absolutely nothing.
Yeah. I really feel like, and granted, a lot of this is the Sentai footage, so it's more of a critique on that, I guess. I don't like when we're mid-season and we see a lot of individual sword fights that feel like there's no stakes and we're just waiting for it to be done.
I don't unilaterally dislike it because I understand your complaint that where it just feels like there's no stakes. But what I don't like is once they form the Megazord, they always form the Megazord, and there's no reason to do individual. And Beast Morphers was a good example of a season where they would still use the individual Zord at certain times, because it should be, it's not always, you don't always need the hammer.
Exactly.
So I like that theoretically, but in a fight like this where they're getting destroyed, why are they using their individuals? Why are they not?
again, the same critique we had of the villains. Why are they not like swarming him, hitting him from different angles? Because that's another time where we see it and it works well. Whereas for this, it's just everybody stand in front of him, everybody get hit with the same AoE attack, and then cry about it. I don't know.
Another joke my mom had, which was a real joke. She's like, they're all fighting, and she's like, "Oh, this guy's down," and then she goes, "Oh, here he comes. Here comes the Cower Ranger," because he's.
Ninja point for your mom. Yep.
But
it's like you two are related or something. I feel like.
Now here's something that I missed. They win this fight, and he hits him with this attack, and he blows up and wins. And I kind of missed that. Yeah. I thought he just got a good hit because later they defeat the second beast from the void, and like that's two of them down, and it's like, wait, they won that fight? And like, because I guess I just blinked and missed it somehow because they came back looking all beat up, and I'm like, how did the whole team fail and the soccer ball finishing move fail, and then the basic green attack defeated it? And I think that's a Sentai thing where there's probably a reason with that. But
one thing I don't like about the Zord setup in this season is it feels like Green gets to do most things, and he's kind of a Megazord on his own, and everybody else is kind of there, and nobody has like a big strength. Like especially since the Zords are different sizes, Pink's is tiny, but it's not like she packs a huge punch like the Wasp in Avengers or something. It's just like
she's supposed to when she's the soccer ball. That's, I guess, the idea.
But that's the whole thing is like we just said, we looked and we're like, you're all going to be beat because you're not a Megazord. Oh, Green is a pseudo Megazord. Oh, you final striked him and won. Cool.
Right. Yeah. So. I do like the design of this, the Screecher or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
And so then they start this one. Yeah, it was weird too. It's like, oh, here's another fight immediately, and then they just get big immediately, and then they're fighting, and it's fine, but it was chaotic. It's weird because it's the beginning of a 3-parter, and it feels like they squished a 3-parter into this episode.
Exactly.
Again, maybe that was like, the whole Void Knight fight didn't have to be in this episode. It's just weird.
The Korag fight.
Korag fight. Yes.
I love seeing all these freeze frames. The designs are really cool, but I feel like a lot of the charm of them does get lost in motion, unfortunately.
Yeah, when I do like the capes, but a lot of times when they get hit and they fall and the cape's like sideways on their face, it's not the most graceful thing.
But yeah, here again we're seeing another chaotic fight. Villains come, team up, kind of, sort of, not really.
She seems to just be watching, doesn't she?
Yeah, I still don't fully get her deal. It seems like she's working for the villains, but then not working for the villains and working for herself, but then is part of the villains again, and then disappears when she feels like it.
Here's a question, because I haven't watched this show in a year. There's the human teenage or young girl, I don't know if she's not a teenager, but who is kind of a jerk that we see again at that vampire lady or that vampire lady's daughter, or who is she? I forget who she is.
I think they're the same person, or it's her daughter. I don't remember.
That's what I don't remember. Is it her in a human form, or is it her daughter in a human form? I think
it's her. Tell us in the comments because we don't remember.
Yeah, because ideally I would have watched like a recap, but only up to episode 17. I'm like, that doesn't exist. I could have read the Wikipedia, but I was afraid of giving myself spoilers, so I just lived with the,
Yeah, and that's a minute thing where, again, in this episode, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. But again, kind of similar to the green winning the fight last time. And I like what happened here, where Yellow's like, I'm going to do this side flip and escape. Like, this was cool, where he kind of did a side flip, escaped her attack, and was like, I'm over this. I'm really going to try and hit her with lightning. But it was a basic lightning attack from one ranger. And she's like, oh, that's it for me. Like, I almost want the next episode to be like, they were never defeated to begin with. They were pretending as part of our plan. Like, the next episode could justify a lot of what I don't like about this episode.
Yeah.
If it's all part of some plan that wasn't disclosed. And he used up his powers, I guess. But
and again, go back. That freeze frame alone shows you that he should not fall into the camp of, I don't want these magic powers. I just want to be lazy.
Right. Like, yeah. And so, then they do the full. I guess they do the full blast at her, but it was really the lightning that won the battle. That was them finish her. And then she's just kind of watching everything. And it's again, like you said, is she siding with Korag? Is she working for the master? Like, we don't really know.
Yeah. Korag is my favorite character in the series. I feel like he's the most consistent and he's the coolest looking.
I agree that he's the most consistent. I agree that he's the coolest looking, but I still like Yellow a lot. I'm actually go ahead.
I also like Yellow, but he's inconsistent, and that's what I don't like.
He is, but I'm allowing that. You know how I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of like I like Spider-Man, but some Spider-Man comics aren't good. And I'm thinking of that. Like, I like this character. Sometimes he's not written well. But a lot of Mystic Force actors are going to be at Power MorphCon 2024 this year. He is not. And I'm double bummed because he has this one-man show going on called something like I Was the Yellow Ranger or whatever. And it's like a one-man show where he talks about a bunch of stuff, including the Power Rangers, that's getting good reviews. And I'm like, I wish, and he's in New Zealand, so I can't go see it. But I wish he came to Power MorphCon and one night was like, hey, for an extra $30, come see my one-man show. I would love to go see that.
Yeah, Blue canceled as well from Mystic Force.
I saw that, but Yellow was never going. So Blue canceled, but Yellow I don't think was ever going because they have their show going. But it'd be cool if they could do that show, A, in America, but B, at a Ranger event.
Yeah, but really looking back, again, because we're coming into this as fresh as we can be, or stale, depending on how you look at it. And my biggest critique of this whole season is the inconsistency of characters. You'll have people that seem like they're learning something, and then out of nowhere, they're like, derp, I'm reason to not like me this episode.
And I wonder if it's a thing, this doesn't make it good, but it could explain it, where rather than having one team of writers working on it and kind of like having several different random writers working on it and having like kind of the Bible for the series of like, don't do this and do this, but like, oh, I'm going to have him learn a lesson here. And then someone else is like, he didn't learn that lesson. And then the episodes go up in different order because of it's just not, there's no continuity of character. There's continuity of plot, but not continuity of character because of that.
I feel like in your argument, though, with that Bible, it'd be like, oh, Green got his redemption episode in episode 10. Now we're on episode 18. We're making him a derp again.
There's a million ways the Bible could work. Show Bible I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like Christian.
All the above.
Usually it's in the beginning and it's like the creators and the showrunners and whatever. They're like, these are the do's and don'ts of the series. This is how the lore works, blah, blah, blah. Then there might be notes as you go along. But I'm saying I can imagine writers being like, okay, we got to do 20 episodes in the middle. Here's the Bible with all the rules. But the issue 20 is being written at the same time as 23 and the same time as 27. So they're all being written at the same time. So they're not getting consistency with the minutia of the personalities. I don't think that's good, but I can see how it could happen. And I feel like that's what's happening here.
I don't know. I find it hard to believe that like 3 or 4 different episodes or arcs or whatever are the same thing of the adults going, these dang Ranger kids, and then doing something very juvenile and dumb.
Yeah. That being said, going back to the what's an abuse of magic, they just fought like several times to save the world. They're exhausted and like, oh, we got to put up these streamers for our dumb job, and they use magic. And it's like, oh, that was a bad choice, and I don't think it was.
This is the only one where it's like, yeah, whatever. Like if this whole episode was this theme, I think it'd be fine.
Yeah.
If it's I'm worn down, I'm relying on magic, as opposed to I am lazy, I'm relying on magic because I don't want to do work.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, I felt sympathetic. I'm like, this seems like a good use of your magic. I did get reminded many times this episode again, though, of how weird it is that all 5 of them work at that store and seemingly
at the same time.
Yeah, and never more so when they had the one first anniversary party, because there's always the idea of like maybe there's other workers that we don't see. Although for an indie like record shop, having more than 5 employees with the owner seems completely unrealistic. But that aside, there's a part where Toby's up there and he's like, hey, thanks to all my employees who made this all happen. And they're not there because they got called away. All of them, all 5 of them. There's no one else there. Like it just bothers me. Just put some randos in those shirts in the background. Just do it.
Yeah, that also I feel like is a lazy way of like us being told to forget about it, but it's very not forgettable. Kid, adult, whatever. It's like, wait, you all work the same hours at the same time, and he has nobody to cover. It's like, okay.
It doesn't make sense. And if the store does need 5 employees, then when they all leave, it should be madness. You know what I mean? It's not like, well, because I've worked jobs where it's like, I'm the only one there, and sometimes you don't get a customer for an hour, you know? But like, if you need 5 employees and they all leave, then you come back to a destroyed store. You know,
it's weird that when they're in their like little hobbit hole, we see them split up, but we never really see them split up at the record store.
Yeah, that's true. Like, where are the other ones? They're like seeing a movie or like visiting.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not trying to like absolutely crap on this episode and whole season, but like there's just so many fixable errors.
There's a lot I like and a lot I don't like. It
has a lot of potential. That's the problem.
Yeah. There are seasons that are like I overall like worse than this one, but it's like, oh, this season premise isn't good. I don't like the particular writing, acting, whatever. But this one should be better than it is. I guess.
I feel like what we watched of Ninja Steel, because I didn't even finish it. Yeah. Like that one, we like ninjas. Everything else was like, whatever. And we kind of wrote it off, and it was what it was. And if an episode was bad, you kind of shrugged it. This is like, oh, you introduced these 4 boss monsters. Oh, you're going to use Genji, and now they have this dark way. Oh, you have all this magic and like all this stuff. And it's just like, why are you doing it that way? It's like all the ingredients for a pizza, and then somebody decides to put it all in a bowl and then like leave the dough outside. You're like, what are you doing?
Throw it into the cavern and the dragon eats it, but burps it up all over your comic relief.
No, not your comic relief. Your secret messiah of magic. Yeah. That's who it is. Yeah. Sorry. Anyways, Korag gets his lunch eaten by these boss monsters.
I don't know why they didn't kill him or destroy him, as they'd say in Power Rangers.
Because it's episode 18.
Right, well, yes, but they should, right? I mean, they're like, he's an enemy, let's get rid of him. But I do like the little piece of comedy business with what's his face that comes in and like kind of wants to take his sword, but he's like, well, I guess I better say a couple words. Like it was, I like that little piece.
He's my second favorite character.
I liked Toby in this, and going back to mom reviews, she's like, this guy's funny, and he is. He dances funny. He's a good comic relief as they go. I like him better than. I like him better as a comic relief, but I like him. He makes more sense as a comic relief than the assistant in the cave that was the best wizard ever for a minute.
Yeah, just the 1 minute. Not even a full 60 seconds. It was like 55.
Oh, that's the girl I was talking about. The monster girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, this is the part where he thanks them and
she's evil. And that I've never seen that many people in a store that is run by one person.
6 people. 6 people.
No, one person with 5 people that occasionally stop by.
Oh, so weird. How are they not? I want it to be revealed. There's always a thing. In the original Mighty Morphin, I don't think they ever showed Ernie knowing that they were the Power Rangers, but there's sort of a fan theory that he knew in some way, shape, or form. I want to see that at the end of this, where he's like, I knew you were the Power Rangers. That's why I kept paying you, even though you left your posts constantly. And I didn't need 5 people to run this shot. Like, I want that scene. Again, a lot. Not everything can be fixed because some of the inconsistencies are weird, but like there's still room to explain and fix a lot of things. Even with this episode, with this 3-part arc, they're setting some stuff up. It's a little bit rushed, a little bit chaotic. Some of it doesn't quite make sense, but episode 2 and 3 of this arc could make it all make sense and make it great.
Yeah. We'll see. That sword's awesome.
That is, yeah.
I am really bummed we never got a lightning collection of that. I would have bought a deluxe of that a day one.
Yeah. Maybe, who knows? Maybe Playmates will do something.
I mean, in 2028, maybe. I don't know. But we'll see.
This is the fight where they finally pull out Genji, the 2 of them together, because first he repels like all of their attacks, and they're like, oh, what can we do? And again, here is an example where you're not like, oh, they're just being lazy. Like they're trying all their attacks. They're fighting 2 monsters, one of which is hard for them, and they're like, we need help. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna get Genji.
One thing about this fight, I really like the Abominable Snowman monster design, and I really am distracted by the hideous dog face.
I hate it's well made. It's a well-made outfit, but it's aesthetically not very pleasing.
It's just so different. Everybody else looks menacing, and that one just kind of weirds me out.
I'm wondering if it's based on some like Egyptian god or something. Like, these are all based on something. I forget what his name is. There's a type of dog that looks like, I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, he looks too much like a dog and not like a dog-themed monster. And the other one, I'm like, oh, I kind of get that you're the Abominable Snowman or something. I don't know. He's some animal. They referenced it in the episode. I don't remember, but he looks cool.
This is a nice suit. It's a well-sculpted mask. I just don't like the aesthetic. Yeah, you can even see the spike collar. Yeah, I agree with that. I also like...
Oh, yeah, he's like a Yeti.
But he has a hockey stick, and he literally like skates up to them and knocks them over. And I realized that's a hockey mask.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until that scene. A goalie mask, I should say. It's
Yeah,
a goalie stick.
super cool. But yeah, like
so they get Genji, the villains, and they make the wish. They can make any wish they want. What are they going to wish for? And they wish, I wish there was never any Mystic Rangers.
I think, is it any Mystic Rangers or no magic?
No, I'm pretty sure he said no Mystic Force Rangers. Hold on, let's see.
You could double check. The recent victory over the Power Rangers. I have fulfilled my plan.
We have acquired
their most potent weapon. Yes.
What could it be? Try not to get a copyright strike here. My new generals.
Flato
and 50 below.
And 50 below have succeeded.
All right,
we have friends of the show who are professional voice actors. We are not those.
This is exciting. I am the great Zany Gunzi. I grant you one wish. Oh no, I'm gonna regret this. Okay, and what is the wish? Here's I'm 90% sure. I wish there was never Mystic Force Power Rangers.
I'm pretty sure it's Mystic Horsepower. That's just what I'm reading, y'all.
Yeah, so he wishes that. So they all lose their powers, and I don't even know if they know it yet. Like we know it, but they might not. But the more important thing is they get out. Okay, and it's, hey, look, we're laughing, we're happy because I mean, it was a goofy moment, but they did still lose Genji or whatever.
The whole thing about this, they have, it's like totally different people.
Yeah. And then
it's yeah, whatever, we lost. I mean, we still got magic on our side. What's this weird tint on the camera that's showing us darkness?
This would have worked better if they had legitimately been in a good place. Like we finally, and they think they're in a good place, but it's like they were in a, it's just very inconsistent. But anyway, so there's this dark tint. I don't know if they realize they've lost their powers or not yet. Actually, did they say something?
I think they do. I think their like cell phones stop working or something.
They say my magic's gone.
Yeah, I think
they're just missing. Maybe they're just missing. Oh, and everything looks black and white. So they noticed that at the very least.
Yeah, I told you there's a tint on the camera.
Well, yeah. But I also like that Dagron disappears because if they weren't there, he wouldn't have been saved. So of course he disappears. And then to be continued, that's a great freeze frame. Here's the best thing I can say about this episode.
You're excited to watch the next one.
I'm excited to watch the next one. Yeah, that is the best thing I can say about it. Because is it going to make it better or worse? Let's find out. Because it's by itself, it's just a weird setup, chaos, what's happening. And depending on where they go will affect how I like it.
Yeah. I want to watch the next episode to find out what happens. Excited is a very strong word for it. I'm excited to review things with you, if that counts. But yeah, just very frustrating. Very frustrating episode. This season as a whole is frustrating. Obviously, we can't go back 20 years and shout into the void of like, hey, for future seasons, do this, because who knows what's going on with Power Rangers. So, hey, whatever.
Right. I think I'm enjoying it more than you. I think my enjoyment level has dropped a bit over time, whereas you started off like, I don't think this is, so I it's not a great season. I'm not defending it, but I'm hoping it pulls it out. Right now I feel like it's very middle, and it could kind of go either way, but there are moments and characters that I very much enjoy that I'd like it to work out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's one, I know I said in earlier episodes and kind of put you on the spot about, this is firmly in the bottom 50% of Power Rangers I've watched.
And I definitely don't feel that way. And I haven't compiled that list to prove it, but I feel like my gut feeling is that it's in the middle for me.
I think it's lower. Again, we'll do a tier list at some point in time. But yeah, I like a lot of concepts. I like a lot of aesthetics. The writing is my biggest issue, and the inconsistency within that writing is my...
And again, I don't even disagree with you. It's just the level to which I disagree with you. Like the level to which I agree with you. I agree with you on all that, but I'm like, and you're like, blah, blah, blah.
Well, because every time I'm like, that was a good episode. That episode was pretty good. I'm liking the growth that we're seeing in these people. Blah, blah, blah. Whoa. Hey, everybody, I'm going to decide that I don't want to be a ranger today. It's like, sure, whatever, dude. Cool beans. Anyways, I've been the Big Dog.
I have been Gazbot Mystic Force.
And to the power. See y'all later.
I'm looking for the end credits.
I like your X-Men 97 shirt, by the way.
Thanks. I got it from Hot Topic. I was super thrilled because not only did I like the design, not only did I have the size that fit me, but it's like, I'm weird with my t-shirt material.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like what I consider regular t-shirt material. Not that super clingy, cottony soft. Like, I was bummed because they had a Spider-Man shirt and something else that I would have gotten right next to it. When I picked it up, it was a completely different fabric. And I'm like, But no, I'm stoked with this shirt.
That's a great series. If you want to watch a short, great series, X-Men 97.
Even if you never watched the original, you can still enjoy it. That's what I think.
They're going to make a name for themselves out here.
This, I get your joke. This Gambit, I had on pre-order from Amazon. They canceled it, so now I don't have that Gambit. And I don't know what he's going for, but a lot more than retail, and it really annoys me because I wanted it.
Maybe they'll do a re-release. We'll have to see when season 2 comes out. So
I mean, they should have a wave 3 of these figures still. I feel like there's like with alternate costumes and whatever. I don't want to spoil it for people, but I feel like they could do a wave 3 easily.
Oh, they could do 7 waves easily. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk to you next time.